Call the meeting to order with everyone present. First item on the agenda, Anna Stamat,
Stamat.
Director
You can call us
Guardians
here.
of Northeast Iowa.
You can swear on here. It's up to you. I don't like talking down. Being a tall person. Good morning. Thank you for so much. First of all, I want to thank you for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. That is so rare anymore. So, and thank you for allowing us to come and take a little bit of your time this morning as well. My name is Anna Stamat. I'm a co-founder of Guardians of Northeast Iowa, and we've been around for about 8 years. I think we're one of the best well-kept secrets in Northeast Iowa. And what we do is provide guardianship services and conservatorship services to individuals in need, our most vulnerable individuals. By the way, let me stop for a minute. This is my colleague, Sherry Carlin, and she is in charge of our accounting. She's our accounting manager. And so I brought her along. She's a manager, like I said, so we kind of work the programs together. So, yeah. And so, like I said, we've been around for about 8 years. We serve individuals that are vulnerable, and that includes people that are elderly that might live in nursing homes or shut-ins at home, or, you know, whatever their needs are, as well as individuals with, you know, intellectual disabilities. Some of our folks have mental health disabilities. And these are people that really don't have any family members to assist them through life. So that's what a guardian does. We're court appointed by the state, you know, by the courts. And we provide awesome services to our individuals. We help them make good, healthy decisions for, you know, for themselves. We oversee their cases. We make sure that they're living in places that are healthy and safe. We make sure that they are receiving medical services, any type of psychological services that might be needed, any therapy services. What else do we do? We do it.
We also take care of their finance for them. So we do conservatorships and payee administration. So, you know, we might have one individual that is intellectually disabled, but able to work a part-time job, simple job, and live in his own house. But we'll make sure like he's getting his bills paid, he's getting his heat paid, his property taxes, you know, and assist them in getting Social Security programs and so forth and benefits that are going to help them live independently.
Right. We have several individuals in Winneshiek County that we serve. So you'll see me out and about sometimes with my folks that I serve. There's a few of them that have intellectual disabilities here in town. I'd like to get them out of their group homes into the public to make sure that they're socializing. Some people just kind of need that extra support.
So we actually have employees all over the state of Iowa, case managers. We serve over 200 people throughout the state of Iowa. Many, of course, locally, but we have case managers in Sioux City and down by Cedar Rapids and Dyersville and Osage, all sorts of places that help us manage these cases. Most of our people, we do have some private pay individuals, but we have some that are assigned to us from the state, from the Office of Public Guardian. There's a huge waiting list and huge need. As of about a month ago, they were just starting to process the applications they received in 2023. So we're looking, unless it's a complete emergency situation to file with the court, about a year wait list to get those people. So tremendous need. We also serve all of the mental health regions in Iowa, CSS, ECR, Heart of Iowa, you know, Southwest, all of those places as well. So as you know, there is some changes coming with that in terms of taking those regions and combining them. So there's a lot of unknown out there for us right now.
One of the biggest issues that we're facing, we've noticed on the agendas and the meetings that have been held so far with the regions is that, or I should say with the state, is guardianship services aren't even listed, you know, as an agenda item, you know. So we have 90 individuals that we serve throughout the regions. And if we're not receiving funding for them, then we can't serve them. And what's going to happen with those folks, you know? They're going to have to go back to the courts, and they're going to have to find somebody else to do it that can afford to do it. And there's nobody else that does this other than a couple of other agencies out there. So,
right.
You know,
so for Office of Public Guardian, they actually, there's us and Decisions for Life, which is based out of Des Moines.
Yes.
So we're the only 2 agencies that the state sends referrals to.
Yes.
And with that funding, of course, a lot of it is in the air going down the road. But even now, the one thing is once you're a court appointed guardian, there's really no shedding that, like some of these individuals maybe aren't the easiest people. The court doesn't just let you say, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
And so we're bound by a lot of contracts, but all of these agencies don't have a lot of money either. And so as we're bound by contracts, we can't necessarily incorporate price increases into that. They have you over a barrel a little bit because you still have to be guardian for what they pay you. But of course, as you know, gas goes up for mileage, all of those things. So it really has been a difficult cash flow situation for us in the past years because we're bound by those contracts, but not able to necessarily raise our fees. And now everything is going to be, who knows what'll happen in the next year or so.
How long are your contracts usually?
So it varies by the agency. Some of them they're reviewed every year, but whether or not, you can negotiate anything different, we really haven't been super successful in that.
Right. I'm going to give you a great example. County Social Services. We receive 3 units a month, and we receive $50 a unit. So that's $150 a month. And the folks that we serve, so that's 3 hours a month, pretty much. And the folks that we serve, sometimes they need 8, 10, 12 hours a month because, somebody might be going through a crisis. Somebody might have some medical conditions that they need somebody to advocate for them. So we're there for them, but we're not necessarily getting paid for what we do. And so we do a lot of pro bono work because of the hours that we put in with an individual.
Right. So over the past year, we're probably, without the numbers specifically in front of me, 26,000 of pro bono work. But it really comes down to, like Anna said, these people need services. You can't just leave them high and dry. But, $150 a month or 3 hours for some of these individuals is not realistic.
No.
We have people who, definitely have crisis situations. People who swallow things on a regular basis, they're in the hospital, a weekly, people who really do have issues here, and you can't just let that go, runaways and you're tracking them down, there's a lot more work than 3 hours probably entails. So that's one of the issues that we've been looking at, particularly, CSS, just in the past, roughly a little over 6 months for our fiscal year, we've lost like $5,300, but you can't just let those people wing it, So we're here to really raise awareness of what we do. We are a nonprofit. We are definitely moving forward and trying to get some more fundraising going. We're pretty low budget and pretty busy, serving our people. So some of that is a matter of time. But I think our goal today is really just to raise awareness of the needs that are out there and maybe get some ideas on better approaches.
What is your main funding source again?
Right now, the main funding source is Office of Public Guardian. They're probably the bulk of our clients, but almost half are from the mental health regions as well.
Absolutely.
Private pays are a pretty small amount of what we do.
Right.
In that regard.
Is that a state office or the Office of Guardian?
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
HHS, yeah.
They're the umbrella, they're the mother. And then so we have also contracted them as the local Office of Public Guardian, in which we serve, pretty much all North Iowa, including Northeast Iowa. And we do have some folks down south. So we kind of work our way around the Des Moines area so that we won't interfere with the contract with Decisions for Life. There are like a sister local Office of Public Guardian. So
What are conversations at the state level right now for funding for you?
nothing.
Nothing.
They haven't allocated anything to guardianship funding at this time.
No. And I think part of the issue is people don't realize that we're out there.
I think another important thing to note is without this funding, what a mess are we going to have in our hands?
Absolutely.
A lot of what we do is years ago, a lot of the intellectually disabled or whatever, they just automatically be sent into a facility, the state's paying for them, and they're kind of forgotten about. And we're able to have these people living in the community, working in the community, and really, one of my gentlemen who's intellectually disabled, he is so proud of, the 10 hours a week that he works, and so without all of that, you know, we have drug addicts, we have incarcerated, the elderly. Society is gonna pay for this somehow, and we kind of have proven outcomes that with guardians,
Yes,
you know, generally the outcomes are much better for these people than without.
absolutely. We do a lot of crisis intervention.
Mhm.
How far do you get to travel personally?
Me? I only have people here in Winneshiek County and I go to Waukon. But we have people that are in Elkader that cover Elkader and beyond, you know, so because I'm the director, I only have 6 people on my caseload and I've had them since the inception of our program and I won't give them up to anybody else because they're my peeps. So I tell them they belong to my tribe, so.
And I think you're right that people simply don't know you exist. You're a great news story.
You're, you said you were looking to move the office?
Yes, that's one of our goals is to move from Calmer to Decorah, be in the hustle and bustle of Decorah. I just think that would be wonderful, you know. Any place we go, we have to travel, what is 10 miles to come to Decorah? And I don't like to do that. I would rather be here with everybody else and getting out to talk to people more and getting to know our neighbors.
Yeah, I definitely think it would definitely raise our awareness to get to Decorah. Once again, we operate on a very minute budget right now, you know, so definitely the rent that we pay in Calmer is going to be significantly more in Decorah. So we're always looking for a place, and we really give everything we can to our clients. So our office now with 3 to 4 workers in is about 400 or 500 square feet, and you go in the other room when you need to talk on the phone because we're all just piled in there together. So we really do want to give the most we can to our clients, but we do think in terms of maybe raising our fundraising sources and stuff, that getting to Decorah and getting some awareness out there might be a good move.
I know that you're busy people, so we won't take up any more of your time.
That's fine. We got a few more minutes scheduled.
Okay.
You got-
When they contacted me, I said, I had to be honest, I had really never heard of the organization and what they did, so that's why I invited them to get on the agenda. at
Thank
least
you.
Publicly, let people know they're out there and what a great mission they did. I mean, you look at the number of people you serve, really, that would fall through the cracks otherwise.
Right.
You talk about, well, they can put in an institution, what aren't institutional spaces?
No, there's not. They're
So-
closing down beds left and right.
Yeah.
Part of it is good, a part of it is not, because we do have folks that need, I call it vacation, but not really, you know, they need some time to regroup, maybe have their medications checked to make sure that, you know, they're back on track before they're released back into the community. I would like to share a little story, you know, talking about the number of hours that we spend with people. I had a young lady that lived in Waterloo that I used to work with, or she's working with another case manager, guardian case manager now, but she decided she was going to join a gang in Chicago. So she took off with somebody that she met on Facebook and she was gone for months. You know, we were able to track her down. She stayed in the hospital. She checked herself into the hospital in Chicago. She stayed there for months and months until we could get her back to Iowa and get her services back on track, you know, with the services that she needed. So, I mean, so we're talking probably 15 to 20 hours a month just for that individual to make sure that she was, you know, taken care of. So,
But she is living successfully in a host home.
yeah, she is.
In the
Oh,
state.
that's what I was talking about.
I did know what you were talking about, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of good that's being done out there, you know, and, you know, I have an example too of a 17-year-old that, he never knew his father, no clue who that was. His mother is incarcerated for drugs. You know, what is this kid supposed to do? You know, so we have him in a host home. I help him with his finances. We're keeping him in school. You know, it's one of those things though that I can directly quote. He said, you know, like, I've just never had anyone who's been there for me, you know, his whole life. And so we enjoy taking care of all of those people, you know, and celebrating their successes. Maybe some of them we can graduate out at some point, but you know, what's this kid supposed to do, you know? So there's a lot of good work that we do out there.
You know, many of you know that I worked at NICC for many years. So I had a student who was also on my caseload. So I worked with her at NICC and I worked with her as a guardian case manager. And, you know, I said to her, if you can graduate college, then you can graduate Guardians of Northeast Iowa. And indeed she did. And today we're still in touch. we're not her guardian anymore, but she is living a very successful life. She's holding down a steady job. She's got a fiance and doing very, very well. So,
Mhm. Other things that we get into is with our conservatorships is we're having a lot of people now who, the parents are outliving the kids. But we might have a gentleman who had a devastating stroke, just all of a sudden, no warning. And he's completely nonverbal, pretty much, I hate to say it, but for the most part, just gonna be laying in the hospital bed till the end. There's nothing in the windows of his eyes. So who takes care of these people? So that was one that was appointed to us by the state. There was a case where it was actually fraud. There was 2 gentlemen had moved into his house from the neighborhood. We ended up getting them out of the house. We're putting the house up for sale. Our case manager, I didn't deal with a lot of the financial part of it, but our case manager goes to visit him regularly, advocating, like if the home is giving him good care, and that type of thing. And just really managing his estate and making sure that he's taken care of, because, there's a private investigator. There's literally no one we can find that has any connection to this man, So we get into all sorts of, it really runs the gamut of cases that we deal with and work with. But progressively, takes a lot of hours and takes a lot of miles, for us to cover the state like that. So we really wanted to just share what our organization was about, make you aware of it, and hopefully, do some advocating for us too, because I think we do a tremendous service throughout the state of Iowa.
absolutely.
And maybe the media can give you.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. So, and if you have ideas with CSS or what have you, I know all nonprofits are in tough spots, right now, but it's a little bit scary for us with OPG being our main source of income. You might get paid from the state this month or you might not, type of thing. So we'll really be looking for local fundraising and other avenues to keep supporting our mission.
Our city council is 5:30 tonight.
Yeah, we plan on visiting quite a few different places.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that's definitely.
Fourth is Wednesday, at 6.
Weekly, monthly?
First Wednesday,
Gotcha.
Calvert's first Monday, Stillville's first Tuesday, the Fourth's first Wednesday,
Perfect.
Ridgeway's second Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Washington's the first Monday.
And we also plan on going, we do have a fair amount of people in Wakan as well. So we work with organizations like Task,
Yes.
and those types of places as well. We have really good working relationships with those types of organizations. So we plan on kind of making our own.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you so much.
If anyone wants, brochure, they have extras.
Yeah.
Say,
If anybody wants a business card, I have some of those as well. So
Thank you.
we appreciate your time.
I'll take one of those cards so I can get your name in a minute.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank you.
you bet.
Back at you.
Next on the agenda, my Kueny County engineer. Dust control resolution on the road updates. Morning, Mike.
Number sheet W14, steel filter, Ridgeway, is to be signed and get submitted.
That'd be with a special color pen.
Blue, I think we have blue. Blue or purple.
Offsetting.
Yeah, offsetting, yeah, blue here.
Here's the other blue. Doesn't take action, you just all need to sign it.
There's no updates. Your data, my time sheets. And I have dust control policy with the permit that is attached to the back. You should look at.
Did we get a report?
And extra prints.
I printed one myself.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes you don't bring one back. I'm excited.
You get the board supervisors email. Oh, email. Since the last meeting, I continued my leadership training. Staff is actively working with the GIS department, for website page and coordination. I don't know if you, I know that Steve has looked at some of the stuff that our GIS department has done. And really likes what Reggie's going. We're trying to coordinate the engineers department website with that GIS stuff, since there's so much, you know, yeah, it's intertwined. There's a lot of low hanging fruit that you can kind of work together on.
If you stop in over at the office, the new office over there in the jail, the old jail, I will gladly give you a quick tour, which you'll find pretty interesting.
Then budgetary discussions are ongoing. We're looking pretty good so far. It is a general statement. The advertised for summer help and other county positions on Monday. Or at least it went into the paper. Then I don't know when the paper came out. Established the summer schedule for the crew on Monday, so we're doing 410s.
When do you start it?
Middle of April, and then right now we're looking at September 1st, being finished with Frankville Road, and then we would stop at 410s then.
You know, I thought about that a little bit just on your behalf, was maybe something like the first full week after Labor Day, because you always get that.
Yeah, it's a loose idea, and so I don't think we're. I think in my email I sent out to the crew, it was a loose. That's the target. So
Yeah, it's a very good non-paid benefit.
and
Zero
I mean,
cost, for a zero cost benefit.
yeah, and I mean the Ridgeway shop gave me a little diagram of all the cost savings on it that was very informative. So they were.
That explains a lot.
It does. They did a good job on that. So summer schedule, applying for federal funds. This is the big one, to the RPA for Mill Calmer Road from Highway 52 to the city limits up to Cora. So the $5.8 million project roughly. We're getting $2.8 million from them. I kind of partitioned it within the application. So that way there's two sections, and one section is from Highway 52 to Town Line Road, and that's basically concrete. And then Town Line Road to the city limits of Decorah is asphalt. So they're two different projects, but I want to combine them to have one continuous surface, because the shorter one is north of town, is the one that probably needs the most work in my mind, but it's the cheaper one and not the one that everyone had been wanting, or at least that's my understanding of not the one everyone had wanted. So this combines both of them to get I think the worst section of road involved.
Did you say the contribution would be 2.8 million?
That was the estimate, and that's up in the air still.
Like 3 or 4 years out.
Yeah.
So people don't all of a
No,
sudden
yeah.
think this is happening right away.
Yes, and
We've applied for funding in 3 or 4 years. So
the most recent, and just so we're aware, the most recent ones for 2025, 6, and 7, because this is for 2028. All got notified by RPA that their funding is going to be less than originally thought.
2%.
So it's just
out at 87.1
1.3 or whatever, now it's down to 85, it's right at 2%.
Yeah, and
I mean, it doesn't, you know, $5 million, it's like 100,000, but it's still 100,000 on a $5 million project, but yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. I'm just,
Whatever they give you, yeah, it's.
and I partitioned it so that way if the funding isn't there, we can make it more easy to swallow. I worked with Aaron on that. So, had a landowner personnel issue on Wednesday, February 28th, that I went and dealt with. And signed grant for all the creeks and rivers throughout, Winneshiek County. Working with the sign crew on that.
Got one question there, Michael. I know on the 911 board, we got a budget line item in that for signs. They do all of the addressing signs, is that correct? And we don't do the individual addressing signs. Their budget covers the addressing, and ours, we don't touch, we don't have any of that.
Usually the engineer's office orders the signs and installs them, but they get 911 to pay for it. But just the house number signs, is what
Yeah,
they pay
yeah.
for.
Right.
It's the blue.
That's my understanding as well.
corrugated house number signs.
Fire mark.
And dust control policy, we can kind of look at that in a minute. Initially, site visit in Howard County. Steve was there. It's a very nice looking shop, very economical. We brought some locust crew members because we're looking at doing the locust shop like this. Raving reviews from those guys about that shop.
The savings would be about half of what you would have spent.
I haven't priced it out yet.
I asked Nick, and Nick thought that his cost on that was about $85 a foot.
Yeah, I haven't priced out with the auction shop. So the auction shop is a steel shop.
50 by
Yeah, what they-
70 or
I think they've got, maybe it's a little bit, see, it's three
Three
days.
days, yeah.
So I think it might be a little bigger than
And
that.
I have the shop plans, this auction.
What they've done is a metal building, post on top of a step wall, interior liner panels, same LED lights, 3 fans up there. He uses the tube heaters, to heat the shop. He uses 3-inch roll-ups on all of the doors with bollards on them to protect them. But he also spray foamed the inside. And then when he built it, he put 1-inch polystyrene on the outside underneath the metal siding, which gives you that thermal break plus that good closed cell foam. And he's got a very efficient energy envelope, and seems to be working very well. The other thing that I think he did was really innovative and smart was he general contracted it per se, and then worked with some of the different subs that he already knew. He arranged for the doors and so forth, didn't lump it all together, and handled that aspect internally within his own department. Besides that, then in the off time in the winter, his crews with the skill sets that were within his entire road crews were used to do a lot of the internal improvement, whether it was running some air piping, or if it was building the interior offices, or a few things like that. So some other cost savings. So I think he has a really good handle on how he's approaching it.
Yeah, I everything that Steve just said, thank you very much, Steve. And he's volunteered to work with me in making sure that I'm following in his footsteps on that if we go down that road. So it's still in our IOD budget for fiscal year 2025. Haven't gotten rid of that yet. So I met with a rep from Origin on Thursday. She's pushing services, auxiliary services. Right now, I'm not seeing a need for, but in the future, she was trying to get overworked. Continue this.
FYI, Origin is designed the water system extension for the city of Spillville. Water storage and piping.
And then I just, as part of my, general approach to my job here, I'm trying to visit all the shops, individual shops. I visited local shop on Thursday. And, just listen to ideas and things like that.
What was the 20K?
We can talk about it a little bit, but it's some interesting.
Personnel issues.
No. Yeah, it's a bridge deal on a former project, so.
So what, Kilmer Bill?
Gotcha.
And two of the board members are meeting with Michael after the meeting today.
Yeah, Shirley and Steve, yeah. All right, that's all I have.
We have this, don't forget the
Oh,
double.
yeah.
Is there any big changes to this over what we have had?
Yeah. Specific dust control policy, so what we did was because we, for my understanding was that we, for 20+ years, had basically implemented this, with permit.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to Chickasaw, so we copied their verbiage and applied Winneshiek County and made some of the, wordsmith touches that make this policy that you see here.
So basically, we had an application for dust control application without having a policy defining that, why,
Process.
how do we do it, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the permit outlines what they need to do, but it's just not in our ordinances.
It's a good idea to get this on the.
So that's all it is.
So it's when we're rocking and hauling, this is really the first time we talked about the fugitive dust control when they're hauling out of the quarries that impacts the other neighbors surrounding them. Is that?
That was always part of our contract
Yeah.
with the contract haulers. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in our agreement with the haulers as well, so.
So there isn't really any changes, just getting it in writing. And so,
We had complaints over those issues on the rock hauling, haven't we?
Yes. Would anyone like to take action on this?
I move we accept the dust control policy.
Second. There's a motion and a second for the Winneshiek County Dust Control Policy to be accepted. It is a resolution.
Is this a resolution?
Says dust control resolution.
well, we can do it as a resolution. I'll give it a resolution number.
Yes.
Shirley?
Aye.
Yes.
Steve?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I also. Passes unanimously.
I'll give you a copy. Or
Can they access the application on our website?
Yes.
here's a blank one in case you want. Since they gave me a signed one.
You guys have to work on it. I mean,
Yeah.
but yes.
You said that summer schedules and start in the middle of April.
That's the target, yes.
And how many positions did you open up?
The engineering technician, we have a, roadside, assistant. And then, just the stuff for the personnel that we.
When you said engineering technician, you're talking about a seasonal.
The seasonal.
Seasonal.
Yep.
Person to
Yep.
assist, yep.
I saw the ad for this is 2.
Mhm.
We have to run that once or twice then.
Once. Consecutive weeks. It's a minimum.
Did you want to meet here or over here?
I can meet here afterwards,
That's fine.
much more time.
No,
Don't know.
Take a text either.
We'll text you.
Sounds good. All right, am I done then?
Sure.
Think so. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Easy day, huh?
This is easy.
Go ahead.
I got lots to work to do, so.
Consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Either one.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This is unanimous. And committee reports.
911, I attended as a visitor. We had, Mark was not able to attend, and our alternate apparently had not been attending for John, who was the alternate for 911. And did he talk to you about whether or not he wants to continue?
No,
It's on the agenda here to Appoint.
Okay.
He's fine with
Okay.
getting you as the alternate so that, because he doesn't usually go unless there's some technical
Yeah.
discussions that he needs to participate in. And so he could still come if you needed him for those type of meetings, but then you could go.
Yeah, it's not, the meeting was pretty much like a lot of budget approval meetings. There was not any significant event.
Any update on the tower project? I see they were working on Howard and Ocean.
I think the last one, they're live.
Three of them are up.
Three are up live.
Awesome is the last. I haven't talked to him this week, see if that's.
Raycom was there last week.
Yeah.
And he was actually Chuck there this morning, so.
Okay.
I think they're.
I haven't talked to him this week yet. I know the three are up and running. And that one there is the last one on the docket, so I'm not 100% sure.
Does everything seem to be working more than three?
Yeah, so then they're gonna do testing. Once they get everybody, get them all up and then see, get all the kinks out, if there's anything needs to be addressed. Go to the spots that were the worst or the deadest and check them out, make, see if the coverage is.
They talk specifically about basically for a 1 month period, and then all of the EMS responders, fire and so forth, going to different places where they knew they had dead spots and testing with both their mobile and their truck radios to find out if things were working. And if not, to give them a location where they weren't, so that Raycom can try to look into that.
Hawk meeting on Monday, basically did some approving of some providers. And then the county social services, and I'm not the active member this year. I was last year, since we're having to switch off that. But nothing terribly new other than moving the consolidations forward. First phase of it, I think, takes effect July 1st to 25. From regions to districts.
Historic Preservation Commission meets here on Saturday at 8:30 for their monthly meeting. You have on Good Friday, that weekend, it's coming up, they will be redoing the second floor with the stripping and sealing of all of those offices that are left, where we did the sample testing on the treasurer's office. All that looks very good, and so that's scheduled to occur on that Good Friday
Be nice to get
weekend.
that done.
And that'll be it, and then that includes the stairway. So all of that is in progress. I believe the move was completed of the records upstairs in the old jail. I think that occurred at the end of last week. Lance and the deputies moved the records for juvenile records into the other location in the old jail cells. And so that should be all complete now, with the exception of needing some ongoing improvements in the first floor of the old jail, as Mark is well aware.
Yeah.
It's pretty dark and dank on some of that that's left.
I think if we have more public offices over there now, it should be improved.
I would agree.
It doesn't represent well.
What we did do in the first two offices over there for IT, they looks really nice and works well.
So that now the sheriffs will, when do they take over the evidence storage area then?
They're,
Because that's what was moved
the
out.
locks have been changed and they're the only ones with access. So at that point,
So it's officially theirs.
it's officially theirs, and when and how much and what was moved, I don't want to know.
No, but we're totally.
But it all meets the chain of custody requirements, which was the big concern for everyone. Especially for the court records and the rest of that. So it was a lengthy process, lengthier than we anticipated, but we've accomplished it. So
Nice to have
good.
done.
They're about as secure as they can be in jail cells.
They are definitely jailed for life.
Don't make bars like that anymore.
No. The old jail cells upstairs in the jail are about 3-inch steel bars riveted in both directions, which leaves about a 3-inch square hole in between. And it is one big steel cage. It's not the vertical, it's not like the old vertical bars that you would think the prisoner is holding on. No,
Checkerboard.
it's a checkerboard.
I think 3 of us are heading down next week. You're going.
Yeah.
Mark is going. I'm going to ISAC. Hope for no snowstorm that week for travel. So we'll see. Ben, you're going. Brenda's going, and Jane is going, out of the coroner's office. So it'll be a nice showing of Winneshiek County people down there.
Can I make a comment? I think this arrangement is working much better for me. Can hear people better, but there are still 2 places up front where guests could be. So we were still listening to the back of the head of the people who came, and I really wanted to see their faces so I could remember them better and also hear them better. So if they could just have a couple chairs up front, you can hear them well then too. And I think that would be perfect, as long as people enunciate correctly and have regular volume. No, thank you.
Thank you.
We have the podium, we can sit on the corner.
We tried it there, and if it's to get into the office, it has to be out and then block part of this, but maybe just a smaller good podium might work better.
That one is
Big.
imposing.
We tried putting it in different places, and it's like, well, it's an obstacle to get around.
If Shirley went around the corner, and Mark sat up, could you get at least one person there?
Oh, yeah, and then somebody else can sit on the corner.
Like this end.
Yeah.
Just an idea. I mean, the rest of your
No,
items are just you guys, so. Matter today.
I think that could work.
We'll try that next week.
It's 10:15. We have a handful of miscellaneous items. First off, amendment to the local 3483 deputies collective bargaining agreement.
So I have the signed agreement. It was, they agreed to what you offered after your discussion last week. The increase in the base wage starting July 1. So the deputies representative and their collective bargaining representative have signed it. So it takes your signature and then approval and signature, and then I'll send it to John Anderson, who will sign and then file it with the state that manages the collective bargaining agreements.
And just to point out, all the funding for this comes directly out of the sheriff's budget.
Yep. And he acknowledged that we weren't increasing his budget to cover this.
I'd move to approve the amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the amendment to the local 3483 collective bargaining agreement. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next, an appoint the alternate to the 911.
As discussed a few minutes ago, John Lukey is currently the alternate, although I couldn't find that in the past minutes, but that's what's on Sean's record. So, but he doesn't regularly attend unless they have technical needs. So when Mark was absent last week, Steve went, but could only serve as a guest. So the point was maybe to appoint him as the official alternate in case. And Sean and Dan both encouraged that you could both go on a regular basis. So if Mark is absent, at least Steve is already in the know on what's going on.
I would motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion and second to appoint Steve as the alternate to the 911 board. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, set a public hearing on proposed tax levies.
So the new system requires you to hold a public hearing on the proposed tax levies before you held the public hearing on the budget. So you set the public hearing, and then that information for when and where that public hearing is and what the proposed tax levies are what goes out in the mailing that I now have to send to all the property tax owners. The one trick is that the law specifically requires that this be a separate meeting. And so I'm proposing to do it on a Monday, March 25th at 11 a.m. So you have to be done with your regular meeting and adjourn your regular meeting, and then call this one to order and hold this meeting separately. So it has to be posted as a separate agenda and have separate minutes as a separate meeting. You can't take any other action at that meeting. So if you have any miscellaneous or anything you want to get done that Monday morning, you have to do it before you adjourn your first meeting.
I'd make that motion. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to
And it is a resolution.
set the proposed property tax levies public hearing for March 25th at 11 o'clock. Any further discussion? None? Shirley?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I also. Passes unanimously. Next up, review public health expenses and organization. Jeff,
Do you want to come to the table? Okay. If I can move around.
pull
so
that
you get
chair up
in.
So you asked me to collect these figures. I did so and provided them to you. I also provided them to Krista, so she knew what you were looking at. You have a potential what to do with the information, but there's some copies of it there if you want.
I think this was looked into because at the last 6 county meeting, if I'm remembering correctly, people were talking about what their public health, how it was run through their hospitals compared to having it run through the budget for the county. And I think that just perked up a lot of our ears that day at the 6 county meeting. We just wanted to look further into it to see what we can best do in Winneshiek County. But I want Krista is vital to this conversation.
And I would say it's not like we're getting bad service or it's just fine. Fiscally, we should look into it, but not at the expense of our citizens getting what they need.
Right, but we have a responsibility to our citizens with other counties that are able to have a hospital relationship, an average of 140,000 in expense, and ours runs considerably more than that. So I think we have to have a justification for the public or, you know, reasons why we do that. So that's why Krista's valuable input is needed.
Do you have any knowledge of how it works in the other counties when it's run through the hospital?
Yes and no. So we're actually not even in the same fruit bowl, okay? The hospital-based agencies don't necessarily do a whole lot of public health services, whereas county-based agencies do historically more public health services. When we take a look at those hospital-based agencies that are surrounding us, they are the only home care agency in their county as well. So Winneshiek County is unique. We do home care and we do public health, okay? The hospitals are getting X amount of dollars from their supervisors to provide those services. However, what you don't know is how much money the Board of Trustees from the hospitals are also giving those agencies. That's proprietary information. We're not ever going to find that information out, okay? So there's a challenge with that, certainly. You know, I certainly would like to be able to increase revenues. It used to be that Medicare was the great payer. Medicare is no longer a wonderful payer for us anymore. It's now the MCOs, the managed care organizations, or the people who are on Title 19. And we found out over, I think it was on Friday, there was a conference call that we were in on, and the third party payer for the MCOs is now running into major hiccups. And that was a system that just started January 1st. So it's like we're always having to do battle with something, okay? So yeah, we want to increase revenues. It's kind of hard to do that when you only have 2 nurses, okay? We put out applications for nurses and it's really hard to get applicants. And I know that you don't want to hear the wage thing, but I'm going to bring it up because I have to take a look at who I'm competing against. I'm competing against not just local, but also Rochester Press, okay? Those wages are well over $30. I've got a nurse who's been with the office, with the agency for about 7-8 years. She's not even at $30, okay? That might seem a lot to the general public, right? But if we really took a look at what the wages are in healthcare facilities, they are significantly higher, okay? So I compete against them as well. So when you talk about what's happening in those hospitals, there are home health nurses there. There are also public health nurses there. There's not a ton of public health services that are offered. At our agency, I'm doing the bulk of the public health at this point in time, and I don't have enough of me to go around. I mean, I wish I could be thin enough. I mean, I should always be invisible, right? But we have Stacy and Jamie who are doing a lot of the home care services at this point in time. We've got home care aides that are doing those services. Some of the clients that we take care of are the people that your facility-based agencies will not take care of, in all honesty, right? We have a couple of different service streams that those entities don't have. One of those is homemaking services. So we provide limited homemaker services for individuals in the county. And then we have what we call personal care only. We call them PC. They are people that don't need a nurse. They only need a home care aide to go out, and a nurse just needs to go and assess them once every 60 days. Those are 2 streams that don't exist in those hospital-based facilities that I'm aware of, okay? they have a lot of red tape that they have to work with as well. But that's what I can tell you with some of that stuff and when it comes to their funding. Yes, they get some county tax dollars. I'm not sure if that's the true total amount because what's happening from the hospital side. Once again, we don't know.
Said homemaker services, and just, what is that, like cleaning or bathing or? what?
No, homemaking services, you're partially right, is the cleaning. It might be mopping the floors, vacuuming the floors because somebody's got a bath that they can't do that with. For some individuals, it's helping them do the dishes. So they need a little motivation to do those dishes instead of keeping them climbing up in the sink. Here, I'll wash, you can sit and you dry. So that helps to keep these individuals, one, in their own homes. It helps to keep them as a viable, contributing member to society.
I think where I have questions is just, I'd love to see the breakdown of what's done here for this amount and what's done here for this amount. So I'm missing the whole picture here for some reason.
Sure. And so, in those numbers, is that just the public health part or
Right.
they included also their home care?
Right, we don't know.
You don't know.
Mhm.
Could you foresee like a hybrid model? Where some of it's farmed off to the responsibility of the hospital and then.
All you could really do would be maybe, well, I don't know how that would work. I'll be honest.
Would it help to have just a fact gathering informational meeting between the Board of Health and the hospital administration to see if there's a possibility here in saving money for the county?
So that is a discussion that the Board of Health needs to have.
Right.
That's for them to make those decisions. And I'm not sure where they're at. I will tell you that we do have some members of the Board of Health that feel very strongly that we still need to continue to take care of these people that we take care of because they know that they will not be taken care of by any other entity.
Which, can we figure out which areas are optional versus which areas are state mandated and our responsibilities as a public health provider? And if home health care is provided by the hospitals elsewhere, are we required to be providing the second alternative? Is housekeeping part of the other programs? Are we required? Those are questions I don't have a clue on. I know we do vaccinations, obviously, that's important. We do some SDT testing to find out, certain health issues there. And we do those up at, also at Luther College for them. To have a situation like that, does private pay insurance reimburse for that?
No, so STD testing or STI testing needs to be done confidentially. And so, yes, individuals, in particular the college students, they probably have insurance maybe through their parents. They don't want mom and dad to find out. And so you want it done confidentially, you can get it done free through us. That's where we're able to bill some of our different grants in order to receive some reimbursement for that. And the reimbursement happens through time. So it's the time spent with the education, with that individual, collecting the information. So we're doing the STI testing, we're doing the HIV testing, and then of course, getting those test results, getting them prepared. Once those test results come back, we need to contact the individual, whether they're positive or negative. Certainly if they're positive, we have to have them come in, they get medications, again, free. And there's more education. So, I mean, there's a lot of education that happens
Yeah.
with.
It's a service, but it's not a required service.
It is when it comes to communicable disease.
But STD testing, according to the state code, does not have to be done by us.
It is not It's not done by anybody else.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, that's code, so I mean, it's an optional thing. I agree, it's a very serious thing. I'm not discounting that whatsoever. But I am looking at the hospital, and we have all of Luther College. They have a requirement within their own community. And we don't
Actually, the
have-
Luther students come to us, people in the community come to us. There's a fee associated with it up there and even at the medical center, and people choose not to pay that fee. Again, they want the confidential testing, and it's not kept as confidential as you want it to be confidential in those entities because insurance is being billed.
Is it appropriate for me? My name's Matt Tapscott and I ran a childcare business in Decorah for about the last 10 years. The number of times we depended on public health was amazing. And we were required to do training every year. Any trainings I attended in the area where providers were gathered, both in-home providers like myself or center-based providers, the peace of mind that exists because we can call Winneshiek Public Health for answers to questions for the children that are in our care, for the families that are in our care. It's just this amazing peace of mind in that particular business. And we counted on public health all of the time. I did that work for 40 years, to no disrespect to our medical systems. But as a child care provider, I wouldn't think to call the hospital for the kind of things that public health always, and we got calls back and we got information. And the one that came to mind as Krista was speaking is we were required by the state to have disposable tweezers. It was ridiculous, but we were required, but nobody could find them. The public health assisted us in doing that to meet a state requirement so we could have a peace of mind to do our work. That was my experience with public health. I moved here from Polk County about 14 years ago, and there's Polk County Public Health, and I did the same work there and we counted. I was excited to come to Winneshiek County and see that there was a public health agency available for businesses like mine. So thank you.
You know, one of the hard parts about Board of Supervisors work is the money. And when we heard these reports at the 6 county meeting several months ago of the cost in those counties for public health services, and then we looked at ours here, we were like, well, there's got to be some other answers here. There's got to be more to this story. So it's our job to just look at that and work with you to see where does this all fit and how does it all.
And Chickasaw County is kind of the lone crusader like us. They are not facility based. Clayton County, I'm not sure what they really are. They offer very little in some of those services because a lot of it comes through the Dubuque County VNA. So they do a lot of child health services, but again, that is run through Dubuque. So they don't do any home care whatsoever. So they're kind of a misnomer in some of that. I think they only have 2 staff.
So who could work on, whether it be you and your board, is there a way to do a Northeast Iowa survey per se of all the services provided through these counties and where they land?
So that
So you
actually,
can have an apples to apples comparison.
well, different varieties of apples, okay? I can actually have my community health consultant for our area gather that information because she would know the different public health services that are offered, as well as perhaps some of the other services that might be provided by some of those entities. So she's actually, that way it's not coming from me, it's not coming from Board of Health, not from you, it's coming from the state who's actually gathering that information for us.
That'd be great.
And the important part is being able to distinguish between required that the taxpayers are going to be looking at versus optional that is a want. We have to be able to tell the difference because we will get questioned.
And I think the board acknowledged when they started down this, that it wasn't their call. That's why they have a Board of Health. That they just want to ask the Board of Health to participate in the gathering the research. So,
You'll look into that and keep us updated on it.
Right, it's gonna take her a little bit of time, obviously, to get that information together. Not sure how long it will take her, but seriously, I will get in touch with her, get today, and have her start doing some homework for us.
And I
Thank you.
can sympathize with you on that hiring process, because once you're supposedly gonna pay people, I know what my daughter makes in a care facility, and it's substantially high.
It is, and a couple years ago, we had applications, and I know I had one individual, she was coming with experience. The minimum she wanted was $50 an hour. I'm not even making that. You know, so, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely challenges. We've just come through a pandemic. Whether you liked it or not, okay, that killed everybody. Literally and figuratively, right? We have people that, the baby boomers are either in the process of retiring or they have retired. And so we don't have those individuals anymore. The nursing and the medical schools did not put through enough nurses and doctors. So we do have a doctor and nursing shortage now. And that's because of lack of faculty. So we have literally a huge healthcare crisis. And I do worry about not only who's going to take care of the older population, but Ben, you and I aren't that far behind. There is like nobody to take care of us, okay? And so it's very difficult for family members because families are spread out across the country, across the world anymore. They are not just local. It's hard to take care of people at home. It takes literally a small army. We use that term a lot with some of our clients. It's gonna take a small army to keep you at home. Home care aide, possibly a homemaker. Your kids are going to have to take you to doctor's offices because nobody else can. Plus a nurse, plus this, plus that. So there's a lot of people involved. And we just don't see some of that. Everybody's in it for themselves. So we do see some of those challenges, obviously, as we get further down into the lifespan, the older we get.
We're fourth in the nation for losing our college graduates. So contact your legislature and give them hell. The state is not in good shape right now, and we need to do better.
All right, they're not giving us any more money.
And they're not giving any more money. They're cutting everything.
And then,
Actually, they're making rural Iowa pay for more and cutting services.
and to validate what Chris is saying, there's been a nursing recruiting crisis for more than 30 years, dating back into the 80s.
I love what I do. I really do. Public health's my niche. I love being a nurse. How long are we gonna love it? How long are we gonna have doctors and nurses? I don't know.
All right.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, discuss facilities use and disposition.
I put this on since we signed the contract on Friday, so we are officially owners on contract for the previous Spectrum building and having extra space there and what we're going to do with it. Krista may want to be staying for this discussion, and I let Tricia know that this was on the agenda, so she decided to come too, so that's why it's on the agenda. Whether you have to make any decision today, completely up to you, but Mark mentioned, maybe we should just start having a discussion.
And maybe we should make it clear that all the people that are leasing space in that building will remain there.
That's why it came to us. So we work,
Because they were scared of losing their space and if
Yeah.
they sell the building. to
and they're all nonprofit, they're all nonprofits.
So it's currently a Spectrum who will lease from that space from us now, from the building we purchased. Toys Go Round, Northeast Iowa 3A, the Area Agency on Aging, the Food Pantry.
It'll be them.
And-
It's not the community, not the county
No,
No,
food pantry, but
it's committee foods for Toys Go Round, and what, did I miss one?
around the Spectrum Industry, Area on Aging, and then the food pantry.
Yep.
Four.
Yep. That,
so the,
I personally don't know the layout of the building, but just in general terms, that maybe takes up half of the space. So what are we gonna do with the other half?
I'd say we got a third of the space, Brett. There's 18,000 square feet roughly. I would say there's 5 to 6 that isn't. I mean, we can shuffle, slide people down and around and about. There's a lot of open space, just open space that is not utilized really to its full potential.
Yeah, I'm Matt Tapscott. I'm the director of the Core Community Food Pantry, and I serve on the board at Toys Go Round. And Mark's absolutely correct that there's office space in there that's underutilized.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of space that's underutilized.
I'd say a third of it's,
I think that's.
we could
pretty
easily
accurate.
scrounge up 6,000 feet pretty easily.
Yeah, Mark and I went through with the building inspection with the home inspector, identifying, major problems that existed and so forth as far as maintenance issues. And Mark and I have talked about volunteering. We will go over and identify the vacant space and get it down on paper so that we can try to use it as a planning tool of how the vacant space can be used. And I think there's probably some space that Spectrum has been using that's not going to be required for the size of their organization from what they have said. And then Toys Go Around, everything about that looks pretty self.
Pretty cut and dry.
They got their own entrance and.
That was another nice aspect to it. You have two entrances that
Exactly.
go into the space that we.
Toys Go Around, they have their own
Right.
side door there.
That's just
their
their pantry. The
Yeah,
pantry's almost
pantry,
set aside.
everybody would have, there's, yeah,
Right.
Toys, they have their own access, food pantry has theirs.
Agency. has the
Agents
front
up in the front and Spectrum was to the
Coming in
east. Yeah, it's good, I mean, you're gonna have to share one entrance with probably public health and Spectrum going into that from the east side, but area on aging we could shuffle them.
On the north side of that building, there's an entrance
Yeah.
too, so there's.
That would be area on aging's kind of, that's their entrance.
As Mark alluded, the idea might be to move public health into that space. Or the other building we have we're providing spaces for the DHS employees that are out in the old DOT engineers building out on Highway 52 south of town. So those are two entities that are options of people we could move into this space. And so if we move out, the public health out, then that involves Tricia and whether community action wants the Smith building, or if we do DHS employees, then do we dispose of that building? And so that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
there's a lot.
I would say that-
now, because with the DHS, we haven't even got any real numbers on the office areas we need.
So I'd say public health, because it'd be more easier for people. I mean, you're ground level, you don't have to go up an elevator and stairs. My opinion is to move public health there, it would just be
A little bit
more accessible for the community. It's just easier to get into.
A little bit of fact finding we've been able to do, for example, the aging office only has 2 full-time employees that occupy that space.
Yeah.
And then once or twice a month, I think it is,
Yeah,
part of the other staff comes in for a few hours,
3 other.
3 other members. So the amount of space that they're occupying on that side of the building is significant and totally unutilized. So, I mean, we can go in and work out a
Room to the left.
Play musical rooms, I guess, to get everybody shuffled
get them
Pretty easy to-
very easy to do. And then it opens up more space on the rest of it that comes in through the side entrance right there. It could be used by either DHS or public health, or even perhaps both. It's
As a representative of the pantry and the Toys Go Around board member, appreciate hearing, and I want to make sure it's fine to go back and tell that story that.
No,
Thank
no.
you.
That's why they came to us and we worked with them for the building. We want to work with, they're all nonprofit. We want to work with you to keep you in,
They're busy nonprofit.
Yeah, they are. That's.
And then you could also let them know that the county attorney who is on vacation for a couple weeks, but when he gets back, he'll be working out where we'll actually have leases to formalize those rental agreements. For now, we're going on whatever arrangements you have with Spectrum, but until we can get something in writing.
He thought probably by the 1st of May, we'll have new, right on.
Steve, I will tell you, with the weather that we're having at this very moment, there is that issue, and I think you're already aware of.
Yeah, there are some roof issues that will require some attention that haven't been, and there's some gutter
Just little
issues,
things,
and there's,
just little things that need to be.
but overall, people should be aware that that building is in good shape. There is a few things that have been just delayed or deferred maintenance that, there's some boots on roof jacks and different things that can be easily solved.
Yeah.
And we'll get somebody onto that so that we don't have problems. We don't need water in the electrical room. We don't need a number of things like that.
On behalf of the pantry particularly, we look forward to a great relationship.
Yeah.
I think for the public online too, the previous kitchen is not part of this enterprise, so.
But maybe that lady that sits up there in the corner where and opens the window because she wants the fresh air can change her behavior. Is that you up there in that corner that it gets too hot?
Oh, yeah, across from the city, across from the street department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you shut the vents a little bit.
Yeah, I think, he did.
I can take care of it.
Yeah, it's range.
So then the question is Smith Building.
So are you guys, you're gonna work with, maybe with Krista to go down there and see if you think the space is
Well,
adequate? I guess that's the first step.
yeah, we have to first find out, we have to really identify this. The first step is identifying the space of what's really there.
I would just soon do that sooner.
Yeah.
We have one day this week or not.
One day this week would be good. If we can do that. Because there is,
We want to just, can we do it Thursday morning at 9? Would that work or not? Or we set up time right now, and we can do a walkthrough and
So then,
see what we can get done.
So then
looking beyond that, about the Smith building,
Yeah.
what would be the interest in it? Since we have representatives here.
What would be our interest? That all depends.
We'd be easy to get, very easy to get along.
Okay.
Very easy to get along.
Yeah.
We need to keep you in town too.
Okay.
It-
Yeah,
it-
there's a lot of just questions that we have on
Yeah.
what that would look like.
I mean, that's our, we'd love to keep you in town, because if we can work something out, this building's a win for us. If we can get you to keep that building somehow, that'd be a win. It would be a win for everybody.
Would this be an option for giving us the building and property?
Well,
For a
well,
$1?
very small minimal fee.
I don't know if we'd have to do a public offering otherwise or not.
on which,
Andy said that we could give it to them because of them being a service agency that we don't have to do a public offering. That's our option, but we don't have to because we're giving it to a.
That would, we'd be very willing to work with you.
And one of the questions would be the building and the entire property, right?
Yeah,
Parking
the
lot
whole-
and
The whole deal.
everything
It's,
is-
yep,
okay.
it's the one, yeah.
And I think that the county is probably willing then to rent back the space that we put historical
Oh.
preservation in,
Sure.
because we'd have to rent that. I don't know what kind of arrangements we have for the CSS office and whether they'll still, after their reorganization, still need a person.
Sure.
And then you'll have if we get public health out, you'd have the upstairs, and we had one presentation earlier today that of a service agency that was looking for space in Decorah.
Or potentially the.
Yeah, so maybe there's some other lease
Yep.
possibilities there. Unless you need the whole, I mean, maybe you want to expand up and take over the whole space.
Different options are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we'd be very willing to,
Well, whenever you're ready to continue the conversation.
we'll do.
So Thursday at 9, I'll meet you there at the Spectrum Building.
If that works, would that work? And we can take our scratch pad and figure out.
Go ahead and gotta have tape measure, gotta have some layout. Do you know if there's any, in your, looking around that building, you ever seen any old architectural plans?
We haven't really looked for them, so we haven't seen them, not that we're.
No, I mean, on the Spectrum.
Spectrum Building.
Oh, I was like.
No, the hospital, I think those plans are long gone.
If Christopher, the new operations manager, is digging deep into those details, they're on site, I think he would know.
No, okay.
I know that there was a CDBG grant awarded years ago for that addition. The Upper Explorer, I worked for Upper Explorer when we worked on that project. So there may be something with that. They were funded for that, for the newer part of that building. And there would have been plans at that time.
Could ask Upper Explorer Land if they're who would do some possession of those.
The only one that I know that exists is the floor plan. Or the building plans of the DHS building exist because the state never loses records. And they're next door.
Yeah, no, we're very willing.
We'll stay in contact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds great.
we get
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Does anyone have anything else?
Move to adjourn. Second?
We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's now adjourned.
Michael, sure.
Yes. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks.